out to Socrates. Socrates still trying to get the opening. Oh, Socrates! Whoa!
And there it is. The crazy gang have beaten the Culture Club.
Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me? Maggie Thatcher, your boys took a hell of a beating. Your boys took a hell of a beating.
Welcome back. 1979-80 revisited, module subsection 1.16, paragraph 3. This Odyssey, Dave, of the third round of the FA Cup. It's been quite glorious so far.
We've had some magnificent moments, massive quantities of entries to the Hall of Fame, and I think moments that when our listeners go and dig them out on YouTube, they'll never forget.
Absolutely, totally unforgettable. And Romark's stamp all over paragraph 2, gloriously. Paragraph 1, we went to Ellen Road, Leeds versus Nottingham Forest, and we did say that it was the first of two blockbusting heavyweight clashes of the third round. And sure enough, White Hart Lane, Dave, for the second successive year as well. Tottenham and Manchester United have been thrown together in the early exchanges of the FA Cup. The big match have sent their cameras. Brian Moore has grabbed his microphone. Pat Partridge is our referee. It's got a lot of iconic, late 1970s, but now into the formative days of the 1980s. It ticks a lot of boxes. Just on the team sheets, and the referee who've got the commentator who's been sent out to cover this game, and to be fair, the amount of coverage that we get of we get about a third of this game.
It's all got all the elements there. I mean, as you say, the first one was the heavyweight clash between Leeds and Forest, and it didn't really live up to the billing. It was a bit too straightforward for Forest in the finish, a comfortable win. But this game is everything you'd want. I mean, it's nice and close. There's plenty of aggression in there. There's some great diving. There's some marvellous goalkeeping, to be fair. And now this is we've even got the covers from Lord's Cricket Ground to thank for the fact that we can go ahead with it. So it's great.
We have indeed, and that leads into an interesting side story of from the back page headlines that we will go into with regards to a pitch covering malfunction at Villa Park as well. That is just spectacular, and again could go into the Hall of Fame. Your boys took a hell of a beating. The two teams, Tottenham, Millia Alexic, Chris Hughton, Paul Miller, Terry Yorath, Don McAllister, Steve Perryman, Osvaldo Ardiles, Chris Jones, a 17-year-old Terry Gibson. We have Glenn Hoddle, Ricardo Villa, and the perennial substitute at this point in time for Tottenham, John Pratt, who is matched on the Manchester United bench by perennial Manchester United substitute Ashley Grimes. The Manchester United 1-11, Gary Bailey, Jimmy Nicholl, Stuart Houston, Sammy McIlroy, Gordon McQueen, Martin Buckham, Steve Coppell, Ray Wilkins, Joe Jordan, Lou Macari and Mickey Thomas. No deviations from what has become a highly settled 1-11 for Manchester United. Terry Gibson, the left field inclusion in this one, Dave.
Yeah, it's a real surprise that Terry Gibson comes in, 17 years old, and not that Terry Gibson ever grew up much, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, as he's standing in the corridor waiting to come out with all the Spurs players, he looks like a ball boy suddenly stuck into the ranks.
He does indeed, possibly even shorter than some of the ball boys on duty on this particular day. Paul Miller's been drafted in for this one, Dave, to replace Smith. Keith Birkinshaw is looking to combat the height of Joe Jordan. Ricky Villa returns, having missed the New Year's Day trip to Stoke. This is an unchanged Manchester United side for the fifth successive game, and they've lost only one of their last 8, that being at Anfield on Boxing Day. Tottenham have got the work cut out here, even though they're on home soil. It's the third round of the FA Cup. It is quite the clash, really, of entities. It's the Manchester United of the South versus the Tottenham of the North.
It's a collision of mighty beasts, isn't it? Really, and we're told that the crowd have been queuing to get in since dawn, which again that takes you back to a bygone era, doesn't it? When you had to queue to get in rather than just have your ticket and turn up. But the great thing is that they're playing their proper team. It's no different from the league. This is the team that plays, which is as it should be in the FA Cup. Sadly, it isn't. Tottenham, though, are working on the dark arts because they've got Manchester United warming up in a corridor rather than on the pitch. So obviously there's something going on there.
There's a health and safety element there as well because they're on a landing, what appears to be the landing. There's a flight of stairs there that could cause, like the opening scene of an episode of Casualty.
They're hoping that Ray Wilkins falls down, breaks his leg before kick-off in the hope that it might give him an advantage. There's actually, I mean, now you mentioned the perennial substitutes, Pratt and Grimes. Rather than going to replays and penalty kicks and all that, perhaps the two substitutes could play Ludo or something to decide the game in the event of a draw.
Yeah,
something to do.
A game of chess with the clocks and everything.
Not with professional footballers now.
Kasparov and Fischer. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. It's straight from the off. It's magnificent. You've got Terry Gibson putting himself around, looking to prove himself. There's a Jack Russell element at play. I jotted down here those great, the footage, throw the ball on, Jack Russell runs around after. This is very much a human Jack Russell, and he's snapping at the heels of Gordon McQueen from the off, Dave. He's
everywhere, isn't he, Terry Gibson? He's going to make the most of his opportunity in the limelight. That I would imagine must have been a bit of a surprise to him, to be honest, that he gets into play, and particularly in a game like this. But he's certainly going to make a name for himself. He's kicking away and running after everybody, causing a bit of confusion at the back with McQueen and Bailey. And he's obviously going to be a thorn in the side basically for as long as he lasts, because the pace that he's playing at, he's going to be knackered by half time. But no, it's an impressive start for him, isn't it?
It really is. A game of two penalties, Dave, or two penalty shouts, should we say? One given credence and one not. But they're kind of the wrong way around. From what I'm watching there, Chris Jones, strong penalty shout. Stuart Houston. I've put in brackets there, clear penalty underlined.
I think it is a penalty. I don't think Chris Jones does himself any favours by the nature of his dive, though. It's one of those where I think he's put a bit too much into the diving. And
he's played himself out of an actual,
I think so,
valid penalty there, hasn't he?
I think so. He's put an element of doubt into Pat Partridge's mind there with the way he's fallen over. But no, I would agree with you. It looks like a penalty to me.
Yeah, even by January 1980 standards, that's a penalty every day. But yeah, Jones has very much done himself out of a penalty there by his choreography.
The deep end of the shy, basically.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of like, if this was at the Shay, he's full frontal, full of mud, without a shadow of a doubt. Alex Alexis's called into duty soon after. Ray Wilkins cuts in from the right and forces the Tottenham goalkeeper into a save. I always find this fascinating kind of hiatus between Pat Jennings leaving Tottenham and Ray Clements arriving 4 years later. When it comes to Tottenham's goalkeepers, Barry Daines, kind of Kendall was in there. You've and then Alexic. There's a glorious lack of assurity or peace of mind for Keith Birkinshaw over who should be playing in the number one shirt, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, you've got probably the two outstanding goalkeepers over, through the 1970s and into the start of the 80s in the country, in Pat Jennings and Ray Clements. And in between them, without wishing to be rude, I mean, they are journeyman goalkeepers, aren't they? They're not, international class, that kind of thing. I mean, Alexic, Daines and Kendall, as you say, I mean, they're all interchangeable, aren't they? They're much of a muchness, really. You used to be able to take as we noted before, the crouching goalkeeper for the penalties on Sabutio. Used to be able to take the head on the Sabutio handle for the goalkeeper. But it's very much the same principle that Keith Birkinshaw is using, I think, picking his team. But good. I mean, he does make a good save early on from Ray Wilkins, to be fair to him. And there's nothing much wrong with the goalkeepers by sort of bog standard first division light, but succeeding Pat Jennings, impossible, and being the one before Ray Clements, also impossible.
It is. They are sound enough goalkeepers. I remember Barry Daines as being just a steady, if unspectacular goalkeeper. Alex Alexic, plenty, agility galore, excellent reflexes. The kind of like Alex Williams who would come into the Manchester City reckoning after Joe Corrigan, had similarities to. But it was just sometimes judgment with Alexic. And in a Bruce Grobbelaar style, some of the balls he came for were long gone before he drifted past thin air at times, shall we say. But as far as kind of like basic goalkeepers concerned, he could pull off some magnificent saves. I always remember us calling him Alex Elastic, that 1981 FA Cup final era. But yeah, at this point in time, it's Alexis who's in ahead of Danes, who's dropped out through injury initially. And that's the way these two will go. They'd be kind of like, one will get injured, drop out, the other will come in and keep the place until they've made a biblical, monumental error to bring the other one back in. It was an intriguing kind of relay that they had going on, Dave.
I mean, I always think if you're not sure about your goalkeeper, you haven't really got much of a chance, have you? Which is why, digressing here, but with the England thing, when Ron Greenwood alternated between Clements and Shilton, what a stupid idea that was. And you can make your choice, whichever one you choose, and in the end you got the wrong one. But that's by the by. But pick your goalkeeper.
And stick to it.
You've got to know who your goalkeeper is, haven't you, to have a sound base. But constantly chopping and changing, the confusion that sows in the defence, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
It does. I mean, we'll explore the England goalkeeping situation towards the end of the season. We will do an England subsection prior to the European Championships, because there's some interesting stuff in there. But yeah, it is interesting knowing that digression, that when Ray Clements is very much the number one undisputed with Shilton behind him, there's a lot of consistency of results. As soon as he starts to swap and change between the two, all manner of inconsistencies kick in. All manner of inconsistencies. Keeping on goalkeepers at the other end, Gary Bailey. Stu will be confounded to see him pulling off this. So, and again, here's a goalkeeper who could probably fit that Tottenham remit of not quite, but you could be swayed some days and absolutely kind of like not on other days.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't perhaps go as far as Stu in castigating Gary Bailey completely, but he's one of those goalkeepers that made saves that nobody would get anywhere near. I mean, there's a fantastic save from Chris Jones. He had a volley 20 yards out, great sprawling save, and there's 3 or 4 more to come in the second half. But equally, you think back to the previous year's cup final. Manchester United got it back to 2-2, and then Graham Rick sent a cross sailing over his head for rather than Sunderland to win the cup at the back post in the last minute. So that was Gary Bailey's problem. Great goalkeeper, but again inconsistent. Otherwise, he could have been in the running for England, but just you're never quite sure that he wouldn't drop an almighty Rick. All goalkeepers do occasionally, but he did it too often.
But some you could hang your hat on. Some you could confidently hang your hat on. Chris Jones is pretty much the focal point of the Tottenham attack, in this one. Not long after the save that the excellent save that he provokes from Bailey, he puts one just over the bar. Manchester United very much on the back foot at this point in time. Although Macari has an effort that's deflected over for a corner, he then puts, he forces Alexic into a save of his own. A close range header, ball's cleared. It's frantic, it's frenetic. There are chances. It's a good game, Dave.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's a proper cup tie, isn't it? Both sides really going for it. No holding back. I mean, they're really into the game. And, again, Manchester United having lost the cup final at the death the previous year, they obviously want to get back into it. Tottenham have always had that reputation as a cup team anyway. So, I mean, both of them have got proper ambitions for going further in the competition. And quite reasonably, whoever wins this tie in the finish is going to be amongst the 2 or 3 favourites to go on and win the competition in the finish. So it's a huge game, a massive crowd. Everything's there. The proper atmosphere. Everything is there, except in the first half. Nobody can get a goal.
No, it's a massive event. And it's a surprise that it's goalless at half time. Hoddle with a rising shot that drifts over. Apart from that, the last compelling talking point, Dave, of the first half. There's a great on-the-ball incident between Jimmy Nicholl and Terry Gibson, in which It's almost like a scene from Grange Hill, Dave. I think he kind of like cuffs him across the back of there. All he's missing is the polystyrene cup to throw across the castle, or the board duster, Dave. It's a sheepish Jimmy Nicholl who ends up having his name taken and a yellow card flashed.
Yeah, off the ball, he just it's a Beano clip round the ear at Terry Gibson. Really, I think in the finish, he's had enough of this little sod buzzing around all through the first half. And he's run out of patience, and he gave him a thick ear. He gave him detention if he could. Go and write 50 lines, Gibson. I must not irritate defenders.
Absolutely, it is a wondrous, wondrous thing. First half, very much for the goalkeepers, without a shadow of a doubt. Into the second half, this January we've seen some of the woeful pitches knocking around, but gloriously woeful pitches within that, and we have to add to that. Tottenham's is in good condition. No, it's they've as you said, you intimated earlier, they've loaned the cricket covers from Lord's, Dave.
Yeah, it keeps the frost off, apparently. Who knew that it did that? I mean, this is the olden days of cricket covers where basically they covered the pitch and not a fat lot else. They might cover a pitch width on either side of the square, but not the full thing. So they basically had them in the penalty area to protect the penalty areas from the ravages of the winter. And it clearly works because the pitch is in great nick. There's, as we'll see, there's been quite a few games postponed over the course of this weekend, but no, the Spurs pitch for what it's worth is in great nick. This is, of course, an era long before the days when they start to get the growing lamps on the pitch as soon as the final whistle's gone and all of that stuff. It's nature takes its course, but no, smart move to. God knows how they got the covers across North London and into White Hart Lane and onto the pitch. That's a whole other story. That'd been worth filming.
Absolutely, it would have been. That would have taken some shifting, without a shadow of a doubt. Again, it started to get a bit heated. Macari and Miller, they indulge in something of a scuffle. Pat Partridge deems it worth a chat, but no more, Dave.
Those were the days, eh? Just go and think about what you've done. You've let yourself down. You've let your parents down. You've let your children down. Now go away and have a think.
You've done it on camera for all to see. Bad lads. Tottenham take the lead, Dave. After the heroics of Gary Bailey during the first half, this one from our dealers literally bobbles into Bailey's bottom left-hand corner.
It does, yeah. I mean, it's a nice bit of skill from our dealers as the ball falls to him, because I mean, he's only got one little area of the goal that he can score into, and he sort of threads it through half a dozen bodies and into the bottom corner for 1-0 for Spurs, and our dealers. He's already telling everybody that his greatest ambition is to play in the Wembley Cup final. He runs off celebrating deliriously. And in a game like this, you wonder if the one goal is going to be enough, given the way that the goalkeepers have been playing and all of that. But it really, I mean, it's a lively enough game as it is up to this point. But this really sort of lights the touch paper, doesn't it? It really kicks off after this.
Terry Yorif, a little bit of Kenny Burns' corner here.
Yes, good old Terry.
Good old Terry. You can. There's some people you can rely on there, and they will find themselves into Kenny Burns' corner as if incensed that the Kenny Burns' corner isn't named after them. Terry Yorif is one of these, Dave.
I mean, he's got the look of Kenny Burns about him anyway, as Terry Yorif. But it's a nice lunge on Mickey Thomas, and Mickey Thomas. He played for virtually everybody by the end, so everybody's got a soft spot for Mickey Thomas. But at the same time, whenever he was on the opposition, he's the kind of player you'd quite happily see kicked up the arse on a regular basis. So I think there's some sympathy for Terry Yorif at this point.
There is a bit of sympathy in there. There's a simmering, brooding mood to the game as it moves along, not enhanced by, should we say, the amateur dramatics that earns to Manchester United the chance of an equaliser from the penalty spot, Dave.
Allegedly, as the ball comes in, Gordon McQueen is nudged from behind. Not that anybody can see. He goes for the full dying swan. I mean, he's absolutely hurling himself in the death scene into the penalty. And Pat Partridge, having been swayed not to give a penalty by an extravagant dive in the first half, falls for it in the second half. I don't know, perhaps he wants the overtime from the replay or something, but he gives the penalty. And I mean, it's such a decision that our dealer gets booked for dissent.
He does, and that takes a bit of doing. The mild-mannered, skilled and determined our dealers. gets booked for protesting. Samuel McElroy, up he steps, selects it, goes the right way, but the ball's out of reach, 1-1. Spurs hard done by this, but it's Manchester United's toe hold into the game, and the it kind of changes direction somewhat, the game from here.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's still sort of bubbling away. Manchester United getting a bit more of a foothold in it. Although it's Spurs who have the next chance. There's a overhead clearance from Steve Perryman, which Ardiles controls. Fantastic, plays it through to Chris Jones, who plays a through ball to Terry Gibson. And Gary Bailey is quick off his line. And Terry Gibson, for all that he's 17, has learned a trick or two because he leaves his foot right in on Gary Bailey.
He properly does. He's very determined to leave his mark on this game. Is Terry Gibson? Yeah, my notes say leaves his foot in on Bailey. trying to going for the Pat Partridge little black book of lexicon there. You'll never walk alone, boomed out by Tottenham fans, Dave. Clearly trying to antagonise the visiting support. Villa hits one over just over from distance. You got Martin Bucket on Ozzy Ardiles for another penalty shout, Dave.
I think Ardiles is trying to buy one there. To be fair,
he's trying to buy one with that one.
He's
He's probably thought if Gordon McQueen's managed to get one for that, I'm having a pop myself here.
Absolutely. No, sadly, he doesn't get away with it, but the right decision made, I suppose, in the end there.
Yeah, I think so. We've got a Hoddle, across from the right, evades everyone. Bailey gets a hand to her. It is a bit, both ends, but Manchester United are turning the screw bit by bit. The equaliser, unfortunate on Tottenham, is that kind of chance for Manchester United. It's to use that sense of injustice to maybe get the win rather than just the replay, Dave.
Yeah, Steve Coppell has a really good chance, doesn't he? At one point when he slams it across the goal and goes wide of the target. I mean, Tottenham are pressing forward, but it's United who seem to have the more coherent attacking moves, I think. Tottenham, it's energy and aggression more than anything, whereas Manchester United are looking a bit more composed at this point. Although right at the death, it's Tottenham that can win it. I mean, Steve Perryman has a great opportunity. Again, terrific save from Gary Bailey, point blank, which keeps him out and ensures that he becomes the man of the match.
He does indeed. 6 yards out on the turn. Perryman really should win it for Tottenham at this point in time. Chris Jones hobbles off to be replaced by Pratt. We do get to see a bit of Pratt. And Pat Partridge eventually blows full time, just as Manchester United have a corner, Dave.
Yes.
It's one of
Nobody thought much about it in those days, really, I suppose. If they'd taken the corner, I mean, obviously Clive Thomas had then blown up on the ball.
I was just going to say, it'd go for the Clive Thomas route.
But I mean, back then, I don't think anybody sort of thought about it. But now, you definitely get to take your corner, wouldn't you? And who knows what would happen from there? But I think it's one of those ones where I think you're glad there's a replay because it's been a good game. You want a bit more of that.
It's an extra bonus. Without a shadow of a doubt. After match interviews, we've got an interesting one with Gary Bailey. He's highly pleased with his lot. In after this one, he's very, very pleased with himself. And when pressed upon the Perryman opportunity, he says to Perryman, "Boo," and that's enough to put him off. There's a comic book element to such a thing that a goalkeeper just saying boo to his
above the sound of 50,000 people screaming.
Above the sound of it was Gary Bailey's boo at Perryman that made all the difference. Tottenham seem to have Man United seem to have the secret sign over Tottenham at this point in time. We're quite some time away. Since Tottenham last got a decent result against them, and to be off to Old Trafford for the replay, which we'll cover in the next paragraph, they've got the work cut out, Dave.
Yeah, you've got your replay. You're going to take them back home to Old Trafford. The way that United are playing at home over the course of this season, you've got to fancy that they'll be on into the fourth round.
Absolutely. A rundown of the results, the rest of the results from the third round. We've got Bristol City have gone through 6-2 resounding win over Derby County, Dave. We've seen Burnley dispatch of Stoke. Liverpool have put 5 past Grimsby Town on a day when the Kop, as they entertain themselves not just by the goals that Liverpool scored, but they were, because I remember being at this as a kid. There were a lot of fish-related chants going on. You only sing when you're fishing, etc. And then kind of like turning every Liverpool player into a fish-connotated name, Kenny Dogfish, etc. Phil, there's only one Phil Eel, being amongst them. Not saying it was high comedy, but it was a congregation that were entertaining itself probably more than what was going on the pitch, Dave.
There are those times when even a win is too easy to make it. Yeah.
It's not enough sometimes. 3-go Ipswich Town at Preston North End. We've seen Norwich progress against Yeovil. 3-go Reading knocking out Colchester United. We've mentioned Leicester's dispatching at the hands of Harlow in a replay. Wolves are through at Notts County in the game that was meant to be played by Wrexham. We've got Blackburn and Fulham doing it all over again for a replay. West Ham United, Dave, at West Brom, a 1-1 draw. Any recollections of this game?
Many recollections. To this day, 45 years later, it's the best goalkeeping performance I've ever seen in my life. Phil Parkes that day was unbelievable. The 2 saves he made from Cyril Regis, I can see him now if I close my eyes. That he was just out of this world that day. I think we equalised right at the death, actually. I think they'd been winning for ages and we scored quite late on, I think. But it was pointless because, there's no way we were going to win the replay at Upton Park. So, anyway, but no, Phil Parkes was out of this world.
Second Division West Ham, surely they're not going to go much further in this competition, Dave.
No.
Not this year. 3-go Bolton Wanderers, troubled Bolton Wanderers at Sunderland. Not a bad result for Bolton there. At Roker Park, Sunderland flying high in the second division. Bolton just 1 win all season in the first division thus far. Given
the way Bolton have been playing, it's and also you look at the same result in a similar game that Derby Bristol City end up letting 6 in, and there's Bolton in a similar position in the league, getting a good win away from home. Perhaps it'll reignite their season.
Quite possibly. We will wait with bated breath. Chester, not too much though. Chester have got a win at St James Park, Dave. That's a bit of a turn up for the Bucks. Wrexham, who should have been playing at Notts County, put 6 without reply past Charlton. 3-go Watford at QPR. Aston Villa at Bristol Rovers in a Friday night game because the 2 Bristol clubs drawn at home against one another. We've got Middlesbrough going through, Millwall, obviously with the brick thrown in for good measure. Coventry City at Oldham, Wigan Athletic. They're still waiting to try and overcome. Well, actually, to play Northwich Victoria with the prize of a trip to Chelsea awaiting. We've got Orient going through. We've got Brighton, Arsenal being held to a draw at Cardiff. Cambridge have won at Chesham. Obviously, the glory of Halifax beating Manchester City. Nottingham Forest win at Leeds United, and we've got a bit of an intriguing trilogy between Swansea and Crystal Palace. But Birmingham, Southampton, our last one for this particular paragraph, Dave. Your take on St Andrews and what went on there?
It's a really interesting game because Blues are going well at the top of the second division at this stage. Not that we've had much chance to see them, I don't think. But Southampton, are playing some great football. Not necessarily the most robust away from home necessarily, but all the same, they're playing some really good football. This is it's another really evocative sort of third round tie. This is the kind of thing that you want, a team that's going really well at the top of one division against another strong outfit. And it's one of those that would be hard to call before the game. The big disappointment, I don't know if you remember the old St Andrews used to have that big clock in the corner.
Yeah.
And the clock's gone digital.
Yeah.
This is a disgrace.
This is a disgrace. The modern football encroaching on the game, Dave. But reassuringly, the pitch isn't. It's not the worst one we've seen on this particular set of games, but it's by far it's not the best either. You've got Frank Worthington doing Frank Worthington things We do have an Invocar in the corner, thankfully, to offset the digital clock. There is a lot going for this game. Short highlights we get by the way, but Archie Gemmell's part of this Birmingham side. There is a lot to be said for this Birmingham side.
It's a decent side they've put together after getting relegated. I think it's a team that ultimately will come back up and have a couple of good seasons again in the first division. They kind of, in a sense, they're doing a bit of a Southampton in the likes of Worthington and Gemmell towards the end of the career, bringing them in for a couple of valedictory last seasons and getting the last bits out of them. It's a decent game. The first goal goes to Blues. I mean, it's not the most elegant goal you've ever seen. A long throw from Mark Dennis. There's a mad scramble in the box, and there's Keith Birchin to force the ball over the line to give Southampton a bit of a shock. But that's all in keeping with the kind of game that you want, really, at that stage from Birmingham.
Yes, absolutely you do. Southampton do fight back, though. Not the best away record, so 1-0 down against the Birmingham are doing well in the second division. There must be a fear of the worst there. But Mick Shannon levels the scoring from the penalty spot, and he just blasts it right down the middle.
Nothing fancy about that. No Panenkas on that St Andrews pitch. Definitely not. Just lace the thing as hard as you can down the middle. And one apiece coming into the second half.
Indeed, and it's Birmingham who edge ahead again, and it's a fine goal as well. One of those, certainly the finish. I mean, it's a long throw again. Birmingham. You don't think that this the 1990s Rory Delaps and the Dave Challoners and all that type of thing invented all that. Birmingham were doing a lot of that at this point in time, but it's a lovely finish across Peter Wells.
It's Steve Lynex who heads it down. Frank Worthington nudges it onto Alan Kirbysley, and his pass picks out Joe Gallagher, the centre half, who's up there. And as you say, it's a terrific finish. No worries at all from Joe Gallagher, who didn't score a huge number of goals in his career. Most of the ones he did get were headers, but that's a really nice finish for 2-1. And Southampton, who would have been one of the ones in the running for the FA Cup, I would have thought this year, out of the competition.
Yes, a lot of big fallers, given that Leeds have gone out at the hands of Nottingham Forest. Either Tottenham or Manchester United will have to go out in the replay. You've Southampton. There is already, the field is thinning. As far as teams of intent. A few of the back page headlines, Dave, as we've been trying to scatter around the various paragraphs. Villa Park offers intrigue. They've paid £25,000, Dave, for an inflatable pitch covering, and it failed to do its job. A special train, Pat. I mean, this is a special Pat with supporters heading to Villa Park. Yeah, they're just not. They were not. This is before the cup games, by the way. When they were playing Manchester City on, I think, New Year's Day. Man City fans on the special. No Tommy Docherty on this particular train. It was allowed to set sail from Birmingham at 12:30. The Villa, utterly convinced that the game will go ahead, that they would do the pulling of the tablecloth off the pitch, and all the chandeliers and everything would still be standing, all the candelabras and the plates and the cups and the crockery, only to pull back the inflatable covering to find that referee Steve Bates says no dice. The centre of the pitch is covered in ice. Both goal mouths as well. The train is the special is turned back at Wolverhampton, Dave. I think the lads at British Rail will have the work cut out on putting that train back together on Monday morning, Dave.
Yeah, the ticket inspector will have had an afternoon of it, wouldn't they? On that particular train, my God. But and to think Edgbaston's just down the road from Villa Park. What are they thinking? Should have got the covers from there.
Exactly. Works for Tottenham with loads, without a shadow of a doubt. A bidding war has erupted for Ian Wallace. It's all set to erupt. Both Arsenal and Tottenham reportedly willing to pay £750,000 for the Coventry City man, who Gordon Milne's already said is not for sale, although he would happily accept a bid for probably every other player that he's got on the books at this point in time. Don Howe, despite Arsenal's 3-0 defeat at Old Trafford over Christmas, has refused to accept that the league title race is over and that it's Liverpool's for the claiming. He's citing kind of like the comeback in 71 from about 8 points back. But yeah, he's absolutely not having it, despite a poor result at Old Trafford. Tommy Docherty at QPR turns down a bid of £1 million for Clive Allen, Dave, from an unnamed NASL outfit.
£1 million to go to America.
£1 million to go to America. It is thought to be the Tampa Bay Rowdies, but it's not confirmed. Tottenham have already had a bid turned down by the promotion-chasing Lost Road outfit. Bristol Rovers have made an approach from Malcolm Allison's number 2, Tony Buck. Romark maybe at his at work again there, Dave.
If I was Tony Buck, I'd be in the car and down the M6 as quickly as possible, wherever it was going.
Absolutely. Rebuffed by Manchester City and Tony Buck, however. Not the wisest thing from Tony there. Get out of town. Get out of town. Rovers turned their attention to Jeff Hurst's assistant Bobby Gould, Dave. Gould, having travelled down to Bristol to consider the offer, soon found Hurst in hot pursuit. Gould would turn down the offer eventually. Torquay's Mike Green also distanced himself from the job. He's interested, but Green is, however, seemingly incensed by the fact that Rovers are merely using him as a stick to beat someone else into taking the job instead. Colin Lee, out of favour at Tottenham, has been offered a move to Chelsea. An impatient Hurst issues an ultimatum. Signed by 5 p.m. on Friday, or the deal is off. A lot of subterfuge going on, Dave, and potentially a bit of Romark in there as well.
The idea of Jeff Hurst pursuing Bobby Gould across country.
Exactly. It's got a kind of
on the M4 or something.
Yeah, stop for kind of like a bit of a chat with him, and then continue the pursuit on leaving the services or a nearby little chef.
Well, those days before mobile phones, this is the kind of thing that used to go on.
Absolutely it is. And Terry Cooper has also been linked with the Bristol. I think we're all being linked with it. Even a 7-year-old Stephen Scragg is being linked with the job at Bristol Rovers. I will not ruin my family. Dave, a glorious paragraph.
Excellent.
Yeah, looking forward to the replay at Old Trafford, which will very much surround paragraph 4. 1979-80 revisited, the odyssey that is the FA Cup third round. Do join us again, spread the word, and join us again for paragraph 4. Thank you and goodbye.